Good morning, neighbors. I hope you can hear me. Let's see how this goes. I'm learning about these videos. They go private after I'm done with them, and you have to go set them to public, or you can publish them and do something with them. So, hey, learn something old every day. So, what are we going to talk about today? High-level nuclear waste. Happened across a little article, minor article. The Department of Energy is soliciting for volunteers to accept a commercial nuclear waste dump. Ironically, this one's in Maine. Now, Maine already has a nuclear base, I believe, in Bangor. So there's weapons material there. There's already plutonium there, which, remember, plutonium is a part of spent commercial reactor fuel because they're related to each other. So, what does that mean? I'm going to apply myself. I think I'm going to put in for a... Now, I'm renting this property. I don't know if the owners will like it, but I think my basement is a perfect place to store nuclear waste. So I'm not sure how you solicit, how you volunteer your town, your county, your state to a nuclear waste dump, but there must be a way because they're soliciting bids for it. So I went looking, high-level nuclear waste, and you instantly run into issues with understanding what high-level nuclear waste is. Because the industry has so played with the classifications of these things. What's what and how's what, and the dangers and harms associated with it. Belying all the chemical harms. After 2-year shutdown, WIP, in is that New Mexico or Arizona? WIP, New Mexico, was shut down for 2 years because a drum of transuranic waste came into that site with other materials. Very good chance the nuclear materials caused the fire in the other materials because that's chemistry, that's how it works, which means the drums were filled with things that probably weren't supposed to be in there. So who set the rules? Who understands these rules? That's a good question. So go volunteer to take a nuclear waste dump in your backyard. Why isn't this being built near Bill Gates' house? Why isn't Bill Gates volunteering for this dump? Why isn't these billionaire clowns out in the prairies of the Midwest volunteering to put these nuclear waste? Yeah, it's a guaranteed income stream. I'm sure the Koch brothers would love to have a nuclear waste dump under their gravestones. They already do. They have a globe full of them. This is a global industry playing silly little games in every state, and it's rather disgusting. You get tired of it. You get tired of people not speaking to it. You see scientists talking about it, and none of the harm. You see people talking to it, and none of the measurements. This is the most measured materials on this planet. The instruments that were funded and developed to measure isotopes beyond elements, beyond that periodic table of good information, but not enough. So in between all of this, state of Ohio, $60 million that we know about handed out to legislatures in order to buy their votes. $60 million they spent for a 300, I don't know how much the return was. Huge money given away to them. Now you see little articles on how the industry is going to pay their ratepayers back. Isn't that special? Isn't that just special? The biggest crime here is you can go back and read the commissioning documents for these facilities decades ago. When I was young, this is what was promised to my parents, both dead, and me. A little guy, you know? Big nuclear power plant being built within a few counties over. And you see it in the news, and you hear it heralded, and you see electricity could be free someday. Did it work out? Even close? these salvation tours that these people put themselves on, these politicians put themselves on. Like Mr. Coke out here trying to sell his benevolence and his good dreams, his wet dreams. Well, hey. So, high level, NRC high level storage was my query, just a general query. Hey, Bella Lugrisi, welcome, folks. James Lucid, pardon if I mispronounce. I'm just on a rant here, trying to speak my piece. So it's infuriating. One of the things that got me the other day was a couple of scientists out there talking about this Havana Syndrome. Now, why they would call it the Havana Syndrome is kind of curious, other than to scare people, because Cuba and Castro, and when we do this stuff, there's a very good chance that's EMI RFI energy, easily measured with something that goes in a briefcase. If it is an airborne contaminant, easily captured in sample vials, carried in a briefcase, I would bet someone with some intelligence could put both of those things in one briefcase. What the fuck, scientists? Maybe if I had a goddamn degree, people would listen, but I don't care. I'm just talking my piece, and you can speak yours. So this waste of a nuclear industry, these players in a massive game, they're going to give some millions of dollars back to the ratepayers in Ohio that have been shuffled, lied to, and stolen from for decades. But in all of this, the thing I'm pissed the most about is an education system stolen from this nation by these asshats, these Bill Gates of the world. We could have distance learning. I worked for a little company for a while. You've maybe heard of them. Electronic Data Systems, bought out by General Motors, bought out by Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard dissolved the business line which I was in, which is basically industry, any kind of industry. I was a subject matter expert on systems that span the globe. Saw the dollars and the accounting behind supporting healthcare systems in 10 states. 40 employees reporting to me on a total staff of almost 200 employees supporting state Medicare and Medicaid systems. I fucking quit that job because Hewlett Packard decided to buy 7 corporate jets instead of investing in their employees or in the business. And the business was being strangled. It was being spun off into another one of our parallel organization, which is commercial health and life insurance. We managed, my team, my peer reviews helped the state of Oregon work. Helped 7 other states' Medicare and Medicaid systems work. I had some of the most advanced, intelligent database analysts on the team that you might know about. These are small cliques, small clans of people that don't step outside of their house on the weekend to mow the lawn, maybe. They're hidden among you. They're not hiding, they're just living their life. So this shit is big. This is about our goddamn politics for decades. State of Oregon had a lovely university, a liberal arts university that was struggling for finances. Somehow, that university got a nuclear reactor in Oregon for educational purposes. That reactor spun down from what it did, but its bulk work was irradiating organic materials and products to help build better grass seed. Maybe make better foods. One of the grasses developed out of these grass programs is now has escaped. It's another grass out there in the world of creepy grasses that we invented, because that's how this works. So in all of this, these billionaires, these rancid people that know they can be replaced, their biggest fear is somebody steps up and takes their goddamn place. Being a non-degreed engineer working among some of the brightest in the industry at the time, and still. And yet, here we are. Fundamental education stolen from this nation. Stolen. Red states got the worst for it, because this idea, these beliefs in something greater than us, when we rely on each other. Uh, Vote secular, and another piece of something in there. Anyway, nuclear waste. If you could go find the classifications for nuclear waste and how they've changed over the years and who's tried to change them. Now, they've been defeated consistently. The linear no threshold model has maintained its role in the sciences of helping to try and check nuclear waste going where it's not supposed to. There's people, professionals, risk analysts. It's part of the processes they have to follow in order to get ISO certifications. You probably don't have a clue what an ISO certification is, or much of a clue. You've seen it somewhere. ISO 9001 certified. So in this big world, this is how these things work. You write a requisition for something to change, make something better. It takes 3 months to get funded. You write a requisition for a big something. It takes 2 years to get funded. It takes 2 years of selling the idea and making it somebody else's so they can go get it funded. This is global network communications, communication speed. How much data can you transfer across a wire? We were putting gigabit Ethernet backbones across the nation for automotive facilities, buried alongside railroad tracks across the nation are telephone lines because of leasing rights and leasing rates and stuff that the people that should get some money for it don't. You know, every person in America owns about 7 acres of land from the last calculation I did. I just find humans are so interesting, the brightest. Why your ex stop? Your ex believes you a piece of lunatic. That is why she left. Small fish. You're growing putrid here on the channel, and the worms in your meat is showing. Comprendez-vous, senor? Ese piece of shit. Is this your nation you're protecting, your politics? You can't speak about the world around you and what's real? Or are you so far away from it? Small fish. Do you go out in the rice paddies and collect varmints from the fields for meals? I'd eat with you. I don't have any problem with that. Do you have a refrigerator? I'd eat with you. I don't have a problem with that. So you small fish, you keep playing. You're not very good at this. Your ex believes you a piece of lunatic. That is why she left. Oh, you're so deep. So, nuclear waste, high-level nuclear waste. Pieces of shit like this are parts of why you can't have conversations about high-level nuclear waste. Besides, I get distracted in it, but... So, the Federal Department of Energy is soliciting for volunteers to accept a high-level nuclear waste dump. Now, every piece of these materials were shipped there from another state, some of them all the way across the country to fuel that plant over decades. Every 2 years, this tin can was opened up. And besides the radiological releases that they do with those, which is normal operating procedures and permitted, there's other excursions that happen. But if you use period averaging techniques, it doesn't look so bad. Eh? So scientists, not speaking to the sciences. What do they expect from the scientists? If you were going to accept a high-level nuclear waste dump, which would probably consist of whole-tech canisters in your backyard, or downwind, or majority downwind, or learn your wind patterns and stay upwind. Just, prepper shit. So these nuclear waste dumps, you're going to see these cans. We could put Campbell's soup labels on the side of them off in the distance, from tens to hundreds to maybe thousands of them. What monitoring would you expect around a nuclear waste site? What labeling would you expect around a nuclear waste site? How many generations from now from this nuclear waste site are stories going to come out about the kids that got curious, about the adults that got greedy, about the signs that faded and wore away. These are conversations that can't be had. Alpha, beta, gamma energies, the easiest to speak to within the high energy particle emissions state. Yet there's many other particles that come with that. But those three particles, the majority of people that have heard about nuclear have heard about alpha, beta, and gamma energy and have been misled and misconstrued about it. If it's gamma energy, it could be coming from across the solar system. If it's alpha or beta, most likely it's particles in the air near you. You are inhaling. Just like cigarettes and tobacco are uptakes pathways for strontium-90. Inside the tobacco trials, it was not talked about or reported. The high levels of strontium-90 found in cigarettes and tobacco products during the tobacco trials. When the research was done and was pulled out using science, right? This is public, right? This is our science. There was strontium-90 in it. That strontium-90 is still tested for in tobacco today. The last time I saw a record or a public notice of materials containing strontium-90 were cigarettes being sold in Russia from the country of Vietnam, which made me go look at Vietnam and what they made in Vietnam that would produce strontium-90, because this is how heavy industry works. These materials, these things exist out there, and they know well about them. It's why you move manufacturing facilities to other nations and you create and use their cheap labor. And they don't notice that the VOCs that you're dumping out in their lands used to be the VOCs in America that we outlawed, that were called hazardous waste sites. Lead in gasoline, lead in drinking water. The Romans discovered lead makes people stupid. How about that? Before some of these other these other books of fiction were written about the region, we, humanity, began to learn about lead in drinking water and the harm it causes. Yet somehow, the aviation industry was grandfathered in and allowed to keep putting lead into aviation fuel, mostly small planes and aircrafts, which I understand the pressure that they probably got for that. At the end of those runways, every one of them is a sacrifice zone. I mentioned a ProPublica article about sacrifice zones before and what they are and what they do. Go find the article and read it. If you live in one of those, if you are downwind, how about this one? An incinerator built in the city of Detroit on the east side of town, not far from a Hamtramck plant I used to go visit. The plant was novel and noted for, in the evening when you went out to your car, hearing gunshots in the distance. It was a tough part of town. It still is a tough part of town. There's a few nationalities that live in parts of those towns, and they're damn good people, yet they shoot at each other. So, little story, that hazardous waste incinerator built in an already sacrifice zone because there's an airport nearby, right? There's two airports in Detroit, or in the Detroit area. Well, found out those plants aren't as clean as they're supposed to be, and the brand new facility was shut down. And it might be restarted because the rules changed to protect the innocent, and we have to do something with trash, am I right? So where's the long-term plans? Where's the institutions planning these? Right now, the institutions doing this are asshats, like Coke-related entities. You can go find the tendrils of this, these things that sit out in a frickin' prairie preaching to their folks and stealing their education from their children, from generations. Somehow, it's like when Reagan came in, public education just began being slammed up and down. Instead of making it better, which is what most engineers tend to do, we got a bunch of philosophers in Congress with some pretty shallow philosophy. We're sitting here around 200,000 years old. What we have seen in 200,000 years is the collapse and rise of civilizations. We've documented. Those shallow religious texts point to it and mislead you about the reasons for it, because nature's a beach and then it's a mountain, but it's not human. You can't anthropomorphize nature. Science is a body of knowledge I stood on. It maintained my career because I came in with some of the best engineering information available at the time, helping make decisions about mass storage arrays, high availability systems. And by storage arrays, we're talking buildings. These were data centers before Google knew what a goddamn data center was. But hey, technology escaped us as well. So hey, I've hit 21 minutes. I truly appreciate anybody that listens or listens. I'm going to set this public. I don't know what happens to the comments or how to keep them very well, but it was fun. Pieces out, and small fish. Keep eating. Grow. Be the fish. Okay, I found the button, I think. Pieces out.